All right, when we talk about unions and we talk about what you're talking about, this legislation, it applies to businesses that have X number of employees and on up. I think it's 25 or something like that. So if someone has like 10 or 15 employees, this is not going to impact them per se. So is your organization, the Alliance to Protect Nevada Jobs, going to be working in the direction of trying to make sure that the taxes and the fees and all the regulations imposed on smaller businesses under 25 people also are eliminated or restrained?
Yes, we are. Employee Force Choice Act is a premium focus of our organization,
right.
but we are going to be paying particular attention to any legislation coming out of Washington D.C. that would place undue burdens and regulations on businesses, whether big or small. It's important to note that 70% of the elections in unionization efforts involve units of 50 employees or less, and a full 1 out of 5 of those elections involve negotiation units of 20 employees or less. So small businesses, we're not talking large businesses, we're talking small businesses, can be dramatically affected by this legislation and by forced unionization efforts.
But small businesses that have less than 25, again, that are not oriented toward business, are going to be impacted by other types of legislation, other types of regulations, restrictions, taxes and fees and everything else, which are going to prohibit the small businesses who do the majority of the employment from being able to proliferate.
Absolutely. And we're going to be monitoring legislation and working to inform Nevada voters about those efforts and policies that are coming out of Washington, D.C. that could impact small or large businesses.
We're talking with McKay Daniels. He's the Executive Director of the Alliance to Protect Nevada Jobs. Want to get to some of your calls also. It's 733-KXNT, 733-5968. We're going to continue with McKay Daniels coming up next on News Radio 840 KXNT. You don't want to miss out on one moment. Right now in studio with me is McKay Daniels, Executive Director of the Alliance to Protect Nevada Jobs. And McKay, I thank you so much for being here. Good to have you here. I know your son's name is the same as my producer here, I just found out, and he's walking around, strutting around like, look at me, I got someone else's my name.
It's a good name.
Where did you find the name Tate?
Well, from your producer, of course.
Oh, okay.
No, it's a good name. My son's 1 year old, and he's toddling around our house strutting his stuff right now too. So it's not just this Tate.
Happy birthday to him. Good for him. Absolutely. All right. We're talking about the Alliance to Protect Nevada Jobs, a brand new organization that's just kicking off today, as a matter of fact, here in Nevada. And it's being launched to help small businesses grow, create jobs, and to try to protect Nevada's jobs and workers from from unions one, from the government intrusion is another. Now, tomorrow you're going to launch another part of this whole project that you're starting. Tell us about this.
Well, a key component of this project is learning where our candidates for federal office stand on important legislation. Employee Force Choice Act is a prime example of it. So tomorrow we're going to be sending a brief questionnaire to every candidate for federal office, asking them where they stand on various components of EFCA and whether they support it or not. And they, with jobs being a priority number one here in Southern Nevada, I would expect candidates for office would want to make sure voters know where they stand on the issue.
Okay, I'll bet you dollars to donuts that you don't get responses from some of the congressional candidates and Senate candidates as well.
Well, I'm not much of a betting man, but I'm cautiously optimistic that anybody that's running for office will recognize that job creation is the number one issue right now, and that they will respect their voters and their constituents enough to inform them where they stand on the issue. Voters have a right to know.
But I'm talking to McKay Daniels, Executive Director of Alliance to Protect Nevada Jobs, but you have to be realistic. And some of these legislators, some of these politicians owe their political and financial lifeblood to unions. So why in the world would they want to respond to you? They'd rather go out and say to the union, I'm supporting you. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. Some of the libs out there are going to be, they're going to be supporting this card check crap.
Well, and just because somebody supported job-killing legislation a year ago, 2 years ago, doesn't mean they support it today. There have been a number of people of all parties who had signed on to support this legislation in previous Congresses, and they now no longer do. And this isn't a partisan issue. it's a jobs issue, and we're focused on the specific issue, and whether we hope that everybody recognizes that this is job killing legislation and opposes it and publicly opposes it. But for those who don't, that's their decision to make, and voters' decision to take that into account in the voting booth.
What did you come up with this idea, and who got this thing off the ground?
It's been an issue that's been in the press. You've talked about it a number of times, and it's not
I certainly have.
Right. It's not a new issue. The chambers of commerce and organizations here in Nevada have been working on it for some time. With this being the election season and people's attention being spread amongst a variety of distractions, we wanted to provide a singular voice to try to make sure that this issue stays on the radar. With jobs being the single biggest issue here in Southern Nevada, we need to make sure that voters are fully informed and have all the information before they go vote.
Well, I'm thrilled that you're doing what you're doing. McKay Daniels, the Executive Director of Alliance to Protect Nevada Jobs, very happy that you're doing it, because you're right, I have talked about it a number of times, and I'm very passionate about it because I believe in entrepreneurship, and I also believe that free societies that allow people to be able to function freely actually make for more jobs and more money, and it helps our society out. More restrictions, not very, very good. Let's go to a call here and talk to Pete. Pete, good afternoon. You're on KXNT with McKay Daniels. Welcome to the show, Pete.
Hello, Alan. Hello, McKay.
Hello, Pete. Go right ahead.
Hey, listen, I grew up in a family that was a union contractor, construction contractor. Became quite good reasons for card check. And you've got a lot of things going on in this country, such as illegal immigration, that are hurting the working men far more than this legislation.
Tell me what is good about card check. I'm curious to know from your perspective.
I don't want to. I really don't want to get into it right now, but.
You don't want to get. Wait. Well, you do. You made a statement. You said it was good. I'm asking you for one thing that's good about it, because listen, I like the idea of secret ballots, and card check eliminates secret ballots and allows people to be pushed into a position publicly. So I'm trying to figure out what is good about card check.
Well, you know what? When you've got a union, the individual doesn't matter so much as the unified group of workers does.
I'm not arguing about the union, because I said earlier, and I think that McKay agrees with me, that you know what, if the majority of people in a secret ballot vote for the union, God bless them, they deserve to get the union that they voted for in secret. But card check is a public declaration. If you don't, you're asked in a public setting whether or not you support it. There's no more secret ballot.
Well, that's what I mean. The individual is not important in the union sense. Okay, what's important is that the union comes in and that people are unionized.
Yeah,
and your privacy, your rights to privacy, and all this other stuff don't really matter on an individual level.
Wow. I read a book like that once called 1984, and that scared the bejesus out of me. So I'll be honest, McKay, go ahead.
I don't know how to honestly to respond to that. I'd just be interested in hearing Pete say how this legislation at a time with 14.2% unemployment, how card check or any other component of EFCA will create a single job here in Southern Nevada.
You got to create jobs by getting rid of the illegals. The illegals are crushing the unions.
All right, but I agree with you about the illegals, but we're talking about apples and oranges here. I do appreciate your call, Pete, because this is not going to deal with the illegal issue. You're not going to come by and say, hey, are you an illegal? Sign this card. I mean, it's got nothing to do with illegals, does this?
No, this is a unionization effort.
I thought maybe I was missing out on something here. All right, listen, I appreciate your taking time to join us this afternoon. The organization is Alliance to Protect Nevada Jobs. It is not anti-union. It is anti-card check, which forces people to have to declare in a public setting whether or not they want to join a union. The private ballots are out, and that's been the basis of our republic here and voting in this country, which has always been in a private booth. And this would eliminate that entirely. If people want to contact you and find out more, how can they do it? McKay Daniels.
We have a website. We're also on Facebook, Alliance for NVJobs.com. Please visit, sign up, receive more information. When we receive responses back from the questionnaires, we'll be sure to post the responses online and people can decide for themselves.
And we'll have a link to your organization coming up toward the end of the show. Thanks so much for being here. I'll see you at First Friday in a couple of weeks.
Sounds good.
McKay Daniels joining us on News Radio 840 KXNT.